welcome to Season 3, Episode 27 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in ECW history with match number 24 on our list, which is the match between Shane Douglas and Justin Credible from the Cyberslam 1999 event held on April the 3rd, 1999. Now, the reason why this match hits this list is not only because it's a very good match in front of a very hot crowd, but because this is the swan song of Shane Douglas. So Shane Douglas, the first official Extreme Championship Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion. I'm not going to tell you all about the NWA title tournament. I'm sure that's well documented and a lot of you are well versed in that. But Shane Douglas, had the moniker of the franchise, and he really was, in those early ECW years, the franchise player. He, was constantly in the world title scene when he was with the company, had a bit of a stranglehold on that belt, through 97 and 98. Was always finding himself in the main events for better or for worse, depending on, where your love for the franchise lies. But throughout most of that run, he was a heel. So I really like this match because it's a swan song from ECW. It will essentially be his, last real ECW match. And it's also one of very few opportunities that he got in his ECW run to play an absolute babyface against a heel that the crowd hated. And it created this really awesome, really fun atmosphere. And it just boosts the match to a completely other level for me, and it's why it's a worthy inclusion on the second half of this countdown. So we get a classic franchise promo to start. There's lots of F-bombs and things like that in it. But basically, Justin Credible had been running amok in ECW. He had taken the Sandman out of ECW, or so he took credit for, and inherited the Sandman's cane. And now he was talking about how he was going to be the new franchise and run Shane Douglas out. Shane Douglas cuts a promo basically saying that he's not going to do what Terry Funk did for him in 1994 and try to make somebody new and make them the new franchise, that he wasn't going out like that. And Credible, says that he's not going to back down. He calls Shane an old man, and we're off to the races. We get fists, we get chops. This is a really heated match right from the get-go. I won't speculate too much here, but let's just say that Shane Douglas is in absolute peak body, performance for this match, and he hits just tons of big time power moves that you really wouldn't see out of Shane Douglas a lot. He hits two rolling suplexes, and the third he turns into a stalling jackhammer. That was pretty crazy. He hits the reverse perfect neck snap, which is a move of his that I always really liked. And the early portion of this match is just Shane Douglas running wild on Justin Credible. Now, Justin Credible is a weird wrestler. So he came into ECW in 97. He had his run in the WWF as Aldo Montoya. That didn't really go so great, but Justin was a really, really hard worker. And he's someone that, watching ECW at the time, I was really a fan of. And, even when he was the World Heavyweight Champion in 2000, I thought Justin Credible was great. I was surprised when I got the internet in 2002 that there was a lot of shade thrown at him and how he was forced down the fans' throats and, how his world title run, kind of ruined ECW. And I never really got it at the time. But watching all of this ECW back, don't get me wrong, I think he's an incredibly hard worker. He busts his butt all the time. But the character of Justin Credible really didn't work too much for me now. It didn't help that he had this band of misfits with him. He had Jason, who, was kind of a fun heel character in 94, but by 99 really wasn't working. He had Nicole Bass and Chastity, and just in all of these misfits that just ran around with him. His name was lame, his catchphrase was lame. I liked the Impact players, but by the time we got to Justin Credible's world title reign, again, it kind of felt a little forced. He would cut all of these promos when he had Francine by his side where, he'd be like sexually provocative and you would assume that, he's talking to Francine, but then he would be talking to the title. The whole storyline after he lost the title of Francine, refusing to sleep with him unless he won it back, it just kind of made the guy look lame. Plenty of good Just Incredible matches, but, the character, like I said, it really took a turn for me on this rewatch project. But here, the crowd, gives him the gears the entire match. And this was in that peak point where you could tell Paul Heyman was working really hard to try to make this guy a main eventer, and despite Shane Douglas's claims of not trying to make credible, that's exactly what he does in this match. So talk about Just Incredible's entourage here. He's got Jason, who's in a neck brace, and he's got Jazz, who at this point was just an unnamed female. They hadn't introduced her as Jazz on television. She just started showing up with Just Incredible. So Jazz cuts Shane Douglas off at the top rope, and that allows Just Incredible to hit, basically like the Ric Flair toss off the top to Shane through a table. And from there, we get a bit of a lengthy heat sequence on Douglas, where Credible just grinds him down, cuts him off at the pass every time he tries to get some offense. He sends him head first into a support beam on the floor that busts him open. And tries to put him through a table, sets the table up in the corner, and then we get the big turning point of the match where Douglas just catches Credible coming in on a charge and hits just a wild gorilla press slam. Again, Shane Douglas busting out gorilla press slams through a table in the corner, which was awesome. Shane goes for a figure four. Jazz runs in. We get the classic ECW cat fight between Jazz and Francine. Credible, teases that he's going to cane Francine. Shane, canes him with the Singapore cane instead. Goes for another. Justin ducks that, and we get a spot where Justin just starts teeing off on Shane with the cane, but he won't go down and ends up ducking another one and hitting a leg lariat for a double down. That brings in Jason. So we're in, ECW Supreme overbooking style here, which you're going to get from a match like this. Jason comes in, he hits a low blow on Douglas. Francine spears Jason. Francine teases hitting Jason with the Singapore cane, but instead the franchise puts him in a full Nelson. I mentioned Jason, was in the neck brace and starts to shake him around in a callback to when he shook the halo of Pitbull #1, Gary Wolf, many years before this, and hits him with a full Nelson slam. Justin ends up coming back with a super kick for a good near fall. Shane counters that into a crucifix for another good near fall. And what ended up being a pivotal mistake, Credible goes to the top, goes for a double axe, lands in a Manhattan drop, and Shane puts him away with the Pittsburgh Plunge, the Fisherman Buster, that would eventually become his finisher as he made his return to WCW. It was enough for the three count. Just like he said, Shane didn't put over Credible, which... I like it because, like I said, it's kind of Shane, going out, in grand fashion on his final match here. I think the point was that these guys were going to have a rematch at the pay-per-view that was coming up following this at Hardcore Heaven 99, but Douglas left for WCW before them. There's been talk about Shane's ego in ECW, whether he had promised that he was going to put Justin over at the pay-per-view and took off early. I don't know all of the circumstances of it. A little bit of a weird choice, but in the bubble that is, 2021 watching this match back, I have no problems with it. Post-match, though, we do get a big beatdown where Lance Storm comes out. They cane the hell out of Douglas. Tommy Dreamer tries to make the save. Him and Douglas at this point had started to team up a little bit. The Impact players beat him down as well. And it would eventually lead to Francine, who was, Shane Douglas's head cheerleader, becoming the manager of Tommy Dreamer as Shane would exit. Funny because, going back to the creation of the ECW World Heavyweight title, Shane talks so much, smack against the WCW and the WWF, but at 2 points in his ECW run, he would leave to go to the WWF to be Dean Douglas. That wouldn't work out. He would leave to go to WCW, in 99, and that really wouldn't work out either. So, Shane is this extreme crusader, but twice, tried to leave. But that said, I love Shane Douglas, so I love the franchise. I love his run in ECW. Just so you know, I'm not going to hate too much on it. This is just a super fun, super hot ECW arena crowd, a really rare, big baby face match for Shane with lots of good power moves, just incredible bumping awesome off of them, all of the overbooking you want. This is a really great match that I feel doesn't get enough appreciation as it should. You can check it out, of course, on the WWE Network. I don't believe the network has Cyberslam 99 on it, but this did air on an episode of Hardcore TV as well. You might be able to find it on Peacock, but if not, you can track it down online if you need to. You can follow me here on YouTube and subscribe so that you don't miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50, and please join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50. Top 50.